Thank you so much for being with us here for the last day of our Y52 event series. We hope that today will be another fruitful one as per the other days as well. And before we proceed, right, I'm just going to walk you guys through a little bit of the workshops that we have done so far. So on Sunday, right, what we looked into was actually we looked into the bonding, right, and how and we heard about how precious these moments, Michael has mentioned as well as the as Michael's doing his story, how precious those moments between parents and youths are, and what about the emotions that were felt during that time. And Michael also shared with us his experiences growing up and how he connected with his parents and the mutual support that they shared, right? That allowed him to become the person he is today in the creative industry, doing what he does. Then on Monday, what we did was we went into the topic of curiosity, where we explored, the importance and maybe the misconceptions perhaps that regarding the matter, and how does a parent in today's world find the right balance when engaging their kids, especially when talking about how to get them to be more curious, how to get them to try new things, and how to overcome their fear of failing and things like that. And we had a lot of interesting questions during the roundtable, especially on how to bridge the gap between creativity and especially on how children perceive the world, and what does curiosity mean to them, and how it influences their lives. So I thought we had a really good discussion, and there were a lot of great questions that came out on that day. So today we are going to look into the third part of this series, which I would like to call as not just creativity per se, but more of I like to put it as out of the box thinking. All right. So I would normally give you guys a rundown on what out of the box thinking is, right? But I think today, right, what I will do, right, is something different, right? I was thinking about this topic as before this session, right, and I thought there was some very very compelling statements, right, that are quite thought provoking that we can maybe take a look at before we enter the topic of creativity and out of the box thinking. So first of all, right, I think it's important to look at the landscape that we're in. So this is a very I read this some of one of the articles that I was looking at, right? They mentioned that the world is not waiting for the Gen Zs to catch up to it. In fact, Gen Zs are the ones that are waiting for the world to catch up to them. If you look at things like TikTok, when you look at Instagram, you look at trends, you look at fads, you look at all these kind of things nowadays, even on YouTube streaming services, right? A lot of the creatives or a lot of the driving forces behind it, right, are not the adults. They are actually kids. They are actually teenagers. They are actually youths, and even the millennials. So they are setting trends. They are setting fads, right? And people are being influenced by them, and they are uh, joining the bandwagon as per se. So if you look at it, right, it is not per se the even the adults or the corporations that are actually deciding on trends and how the society is moving, but a lot of it is actually being influenced by youths themselves. So it's a very interesting thought that I talked about it, and I see it a lot happening. Especially on things like TikTok, right? There's so many viral creative videos out there that are actually being carried out by youths and kids, and that's really really amazing for me to see, that at that level, right, their capacity and capability is so high. Another thing that we need to look at also is that for these generation Zs, even millennials, right, the internet, okay, maybe not millennials but more of generation Z, right, the internet has been something of a placeholder in their life since forever. Smartphones are the norm, and information is really at the palm of their hand or at their fingertips, because the internet at their age, right, was probably like a cheetah compared to our when we first discovered the internet, which was like the super snail, the internet explorer, that the jarring the wire that keeps on trying to get internet. So for them, right, there's so much of information constantly bombarding them, and that is why I feel that when you talk about out of the box thinking, right, it's more important now than ever before, because it will really help give them the edge when it comes to heading out into the workforce. If you look at it now, right, now people managers are already demanding a lot of skills and they want you to be very agile and all, right? Think about when the kids go out to the workforce, right? What kind of landscape are they going to be in, and what are the demands that are being asked of them? So I think this kind of thinking out of the box and creative thinking is a very, very important skill and tool to have and learn at this point of time early in their age, you know. And if you look at it, right, I think this is one of my, I was very, very struck by this statement. You know, corporations are not really looking to hire fixers of current problems. They are looking to hire fixers of future problems, problems that don't even exist yet, roles that don't even exist yet. And who is going to be the one that fixing these problems? Who are the ones that are going to be looking out to take on these roles? It's the kids, it's the youths of today. They are not just the future, but they are the enablers of change. And they are the ones that we are going to have to rely on in order to face future problems. So I thought that's a very interesting few statements to just get us a little bit more primed up on today's session on out of the box thinking. All right. I'm just going to run through you guys a little bit on tonight's agenda so that everybody is clear on the flow. All right. So first off, right, we're going to start off with the activity after this called Escape the Maze. It's a breakout room activity. You know, you just want to get everyone moving. After that, will be followed by a reflection session, a roundtable discussion as per our previous session on how to cultivate out of the box thinking. We'll have a Q&A session, and then we'll have some final thoughts to wrap up not just today, but the whole event as a whole. I'm going to explain a little bit about the breakout room activity that we're going into. The name of the activity is called Escape the Maze, all right? It's called Escape the Maze. Okay, so this activity, right, what happens is this. Imagine a scenario, right? All the participants here, all of the participants for today's session are trapped in a maze and they had to complete 3 rounds of mind-bending challenges behind 3 particular doors and in order to escape the maze. So as per today's session on out of the box thinking, we want you guys to expand on your creative juices in order to complete all 3 challenges and to escape all 3 rooms. All right. So the rules of the maze are very, very simple. First off, as a team, the participants need to work together and discuss among themselves how are they going to solve the challenges that we have in front of us. The second thing is that participants, right, you are not so we want to be we want to be very fair here. So let us not open up our phones and Google our answers. Let's try to expand on our creativity today. And thirdly, what will happen is that once you are in one of the groups, once you complete one of the challenges, then the door will open to the next challenge. So as you complete the first room, you go into the second room. You complete the second room, you go into the third room. And finally, if you complete the third room, you all escape the maze. All right. Hope everyone is clear on the rules. So without further ado, Andrea will be breaking us into rooms now, and we'll be partaking in the activity. All right. I will see all of you in the rooms very soon. Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for participating in that little activity that we had. I hope you guys had a lot of fun in the activity because in my room, I'm sure I did. It was really nice meeting some of the parents, getting to talk to them, and going through this activity together. It was a joy. So thank you so much, everyone else, and all the facilitators that were here today as well with us in order to facilitate this session. Not to worry for those that weren't able to do it. I will share you the answer here for the benefit of everyone. So the riddle was on the table. It's a basket with 6 eggs. 6 people take each one of the eggs and leaves. Nevertheless, there's 1 egg left in the basket. How is this possible? Now, the answer is actually each one of them took one of the eggs, but the last person took the basket as well as the egg. That's how all 6 of them had an egg and leaf, but the basket also was taken. So the egg was still in the basket. All right. So this is just a little bit of a puzzle riddle for everyone's benefit to figure out. But either way, I would say congratulations to everyone. Eventually, you would have made it out of the maze anyway with all of your brilliant deductions. So I just want to give everyone here, just want to give everyone here a big round of applause. Just give yourself a round of applause. You guys did great. All right. Okay. So now Just to give a little bit of reflections on this activity here, right? Maybe I can ask some of you, you can, if you want to type in the chat, or maybe you want to share in the group, right? How do you feel like when you are going through these activities? Maybe we can have Amelia, maybe you can share with us what were your thoughts? How do you feel like going through these activities?
Sounds simple, but how come we cannot figure it out?
All right.
Still thinking about the head and tail, but no hands and legs.
It really gives our brains a little bit of a run for its money, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing, Emil. Maybe we can hear from Natasha. Natasha, what was the biggest challenge that you found from this particular activity?
I think it's when I look at it and after I think of a few items, I just feel like I didn't get it. Then maybe I just stop thinking. Sometimes that could be, like just put a stop to it. After I guess once, twice, then I just I keep trying, but yeah. So the biggest challenge is probably my own mind. Could be the biggest challenge, the ability to think more.
That's a interesting answer. I would say to sum up what you're saying also, it's a lot to do with frustration and mental blocks. Am I correct?
Could be, yes.
All right. How about let's also hear from who else do we have in the call? How about Wailing? How did you feel doing this challenge, and what was your how do you feel with this activity, and what was your challenge?
Actually, after knowing the answer, right, I feel that the simple things we think too complex already.
Yeah. So thanks for your thoughts, all of you. Very good sharing. So I don't feel bad if you're not able to answer, because I also couldn't answer almost any of these questions when I first was designing. I'm like, huh, really? That's the answer? So in my head, I'm like always, oh no. Then I get a bit frustrated also, and then I'm like, I was so close. Why I think so far ahead of that one, and actually the reason why we want to have this particular activity here, right, is mainly to just I like to put it in this quote here lah. Maybe this is a better way of showing it. Okay, in when we talk about our kids, right, nowadays there are kids in the world, right. Life might not be in a form of literal riddles and puzzles like what we have experienced in this activity. It might not be real puzzles like this that they have to think about so much and all. But the point is that in the with the changing world, right, the changing world, the cogs and wheels that are moving around, both in or not just the workforce, but even the education system, even in society, even in media, even in how they live their everyday life, right? If you look at it, right, I would say that life is something like a Rubik's cube. It's constantly moving around, different shapes are forming, different sides are forming, and it's very hard to, if you don't have an agile mind, right, if you don't have creative thinking, right, it's very hard for them to actually thrive and come out in this world very strong, especially in terms of their mentality and thinking power. And a lot of times, right, if they don't have a curious mind, if they don't have a creative way of thinking, right, whenever they hit this kind of not only just this, but even confidence levels, if they hit kind of stumbling blocks like how we did in this activity, right, we tend to have a mental block, we tend to shut down, we tend to say, I'm giving up, I can't do this, I'm not meant for these kind of things. And that's what sometimes can happen to our kids nowadays if they're not built up, if they're not develop these skills when they're very young, especially when it comes to resilience. This is something I find that um, has to be really nailed into the kids and really get them to be nurtured into this particular mindset as well. All right. And I was when I was researching about this topic, right, one of the things that struck out was this statement here. Okay, so according to Facts Company, right, in a study by IBM, they discovered that around 60% of CEOs, these are CEOs in the world today, have identified creativity as the most critical leadership quality compared to other aspects. Creativity, and this goes back to what I mentioned at the very beginning, where I mentioned that companies and managers of today are looking for fixes or problems of the futures and not just the current ones. They are looking at who they can invest in. And those with a creative mind, those that can solve problems, those that are adaptable and agile, with out-of-box thinking, these are investments. And how I like to put it as, these are assets. Having a creative mind is not just a skill, it is a asset. An asset both in the workforce and an asset as they face challenges in their lives. So this is just a small activity, and how this just to tie everything together up to this point of time. All right. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that particular activity. And now we are going to be moving on to our very anticipated roundtable discussion session. All right. Now, today, right, we're going to start out with a discussion and dialogue session between our panelists regarding the topic cultivating out of the box thinking. For the benefit of those that were not here the other day, I'm just going to shortly introduce the panelists. Now, first up, we have with us, right, once more, we have Michael Herrera, also known as M, who's here tonight with us. Michael, just give you a round of applause, wave to everyone if you're here. All right. Thank you so much for being here with us, Michael. Now, just a little bit about Michael. Michael has 25 years of experience in branding, marketing, and setting up companies. He has a vast experience in the creative industry as a fashion designer and a serial entrepreneur. And he's currently he also is a youth activist with a passion to develop youths of today. So thank you so much for being with us here, Michael. Now, besides Michael, we also have with us here today from our very own team at Leader on Mix, Eva. Eva, can you wave to everyone in the crowd? Let's give Eva a round of applause and a warm welcome for being here with us. Thank you so much, Eva. Thank you so much for being with us. So a little bit of Eva, right? So Eva is currently helming the research and development branch at Leaderonomics, and she is an avid researcher that is focused on creating pathways early on in childhood to assist and build the right foundations for youths. And she's also a mother to two wonderful little bundles of joy. All right. Or sometimes she calls them monsters, but most of the time, bundles of joy. All right. So without further ado, after this, I'm going to pass the session to Eva. Eva, I pass the floor over to you.
Thanks, Darren. So thanks again, everyone, for coming out tonight. Thanks, Michael, for joining us once again.
Yes.
All right, so we covered curiosity the other night. So let's just move to out of the box thinking now, creativity, and the two are obviously very closely connected. So there will be definitely a little bit of an overlap. But what does out of the box thinking mean to you?
I think mainly out of the box thinking just means to stay open, which is a lot harder to do than it is to say. Because, for example, with the roadblocks that some of us experience with that great activity, actually that activity was very good in proposing new ways, because creative thinking is really just based on new perspective, and the only way you're going to get new perspective is to be open to perspectives. And a lot of the roadblocks that happen for all of us during those activities, including myself, is when you think, oh, it cannot be that answer, it must not be this, because of X, Y, Z of what I've experienced in the past. And those are all inhibitors of creative thinking. So I think the main way to think out of the box is just to be open. And it's a bit harder, of course, with adults, because we have to kind of unlearn what we've learned. Again, it's a lot easier for kids because, as we discussed the other day, children are innately curious and they don't have rules and regulations imposed upon them, so they can think openly and creatively. So I think in order to provide the support system and environment for the kids so that they can do that naturally, we have to think out of the box. So I think that was a great exercise for the parents.
Yeah, and I suppose children don't have the baggage that we have. So if an answer seems very simple, they don't think it's definitely out of the question here.
Right. I think one of the parents mentioned that overcomplicating and overthinking the question when they could have been so simple. I think that's something that we learn over time as adults.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So how would you identify creative thinking? And I'm sure in your line of work you would have seen it quite often. So how do you know that this is creative thinking and this is just things that you don't really need to know about?
Well, creative thinking is doing things and thinking things that are not of the norm. I mean, I'll give you an example. When I worked for that company, the $450 million company, as a 19-year-old, we had an issue with the trade show. We do a trade show twice a year, and we're supposed to build. The trade show is kind of like a wholesale convention where we sell clothing for the whole world and to the stores, as opposed to consumer. So we come in for a week, maybe 3 or 4 days, and we sell to all those stores, but we have to build the trade show booth. So everything has to be brought there. So there's one particular season on a Friday, and the trade show was going to start Monday. All of a sudden, we realized the booth was not there yet. So I don't know how that happened, but everyone just started freaking out and started panicking, because how can we get a whole booth there? Then they told me where the booth was located, and I thought I live near that place, so I know where it is. So I started Googling it and researching. I got the phone number, and I called the place, and this was 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and the place closes at 5 rather, and this was on a Friday, right? So the traffic was horrible. So we were thinking, how can we get there? So I thought to call them, forget all the details of the facts. I actually called them, and I told them the situation, and I negotiated. So they ended up telling me that they'll keep it open until 7, and that we would go there. So here I am as a 19-year-old. I thought, okay, there's the answer. Go take care of it. My job's done. No, they said, but who's going to go there and who's going to take it? I said, not me. But then everyone expected an answer, but no one was giving an answer. So I volunteered to go. I ended up taking my car on the way there, and there was no time to go home. And we got there just on time to open the booth, and we had to pay fees, etc. But the booth was taken out of the warehouse. I had to call my parents to meet me there with a toothbrush, a change of clothes, etc., because I had no time to go home, take a shower. I was on my way to ride in the truck, a 16-wheeler, all the way to Vegas from California, to ensure that the booth was taken there. And of course, during the trip, in overnight, no sleep, I had to learn about bill of lading, because you can't enter the state without knowing the weight of what the truck was carrying. I had to fill out all those forms at 3 a.m. when I got. So creative thinking is just this. It's thinking on your feet, being open to solving the problems, and not necessarily having the experience or history to do so, but just to have the mindset and the calm to understand the situation and creatively solve it, and end up that the trade show was okay on Monday, but of course I was smelly. I had no clothes, but the job was done. So I think creative thinking is just to stay open and to be alert, and to not tell yourself that you can't do it, and just to do it.
Yeah. So what do you think stopped your colleagues from thinking in a similar manner?
I think everyone was just panicking, because when you look at the facts, it didn't make sense that it was possible. It was Friday. They were closing at 5. We're in downtown LA, which is about an hour away, but with traffic, it's 3 hours away. And so calling them, connecting with them as a human, letting them know the situation, gave us the 3-hour time frame. And then also, anything could have gone wrong between California to Vegas, and no one was willing or could have gone. But me, as a 19-year-old, as a single person, as a kid, having lots of energy, I was the only one capable to do so. So I think it was just opportunity. But those are the kind of opportunities that come, that when you take them, brings you to another level. So of course, after that situation, I was promoted and got more responsibility, etc.
Yeah, and I think generally younger people, I really believe that it's partly the baggage that we carry as adults or older people in the group, because I find that children, they think of things in a very different way. I was telling the team the other day that my son was saying, can you make this thing whole again? He broke something, he tore something. And I'm like, no, it cannot be done. You broke it. It's finished. You just have to throw it away. And he's like, no, no, no. You see, you just stick it here. And of course, it's not perfect, but to him, it's a solution that works. And, you know, he has the ability to actually use it again. And it might not look perfect, but for him, it works. So it's just looking at things from a different angle and looking at things very differently, and, you know, accepting that it's just another way of doing it, but it's a way to do it.
And that's the point, is that everything is not black and white, especially during these times. There are a lot of grays. So I think you just have to stay open and keep your mind open and be alert so that you can find your solution to your problem, not necessarily other people's solution.
All right. So we have this idea of, you know, creativity and, you know, the creative people and how they're just, you know, sitting around thinking a lot and, you know, wasting time, trying out things that may or may not work, which you could say the same thing about scientists actually, but, you know, never mind. But how do you know as a non-creative person whether your child is doing something useful, something creative, or whether they're just wasting their time?
Well, there's a quote that says, scientists only observe what artists do innately. So there's that. but but in regards to whether or not you know whether someone is thinking creatively or not, I think they always are thinking creatively. Again, it would only be your perspective and your judgment to say that they're not thinking creatively, and who's to say that they're thinking that you may think is nonsense does not benefit their particular life. And at the end of the day, as parents, all you want is the best for your child. So if you realize that some of those nonsensical, whimsical, creative thoughts will actually benefit them in their life, then why not, right?
Fair enough. All right. So if you have someone around you, a child perhaps, or even a friend, a colleague, or anyone else really, that they are thinkers. You can see that they have a lot of ideas. They're thinking things through quite a bit. They seem to analyze a lot, but they sort of like get stuck in that in that part of the process, and they don't really do anything with it. So how do you help them to sort of express it?
I think that's all kids are, because kids, again, are naturally and innately inquisitive. So they're thinking all the time. So even though they look like they're not thinking, they are. It's like talking to a professional and to a layman in regards to a fashion designer like myself. I'm going to know the terminology of fashion, the fabrics, the textiles, everything, whereas a layman would just say it's a t-shirt. So the same thing with a child. They understand and think the same things, but they cannot articulate. So it's our job to help them articulate and communicate those ideas. But do they have the ideas? Of course they do.
Yes, and I suppose it does go back to the whole things that we discussed the other 2 days, right? The whole bonding and really like observing and understanding what they're going through, and really trying to sort of understand what they are thinking about so that we can help them along the way as well.
You need to help pull it out of them, but it's in them for sure.
All right. Okay, I think, Darren, we're running out of time. So we better stop, Michael.
Yeah, it was very, very engaging. For a moment there, I was like, oh no, yeah, time. But thank you so much, Michael and Eva, for very interesting roundtable discussion. What we'll do now is that we'll open up the floor to parents or anybody. If you'd like to ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself and raise it to Eva or Michael as well, and they'll help answer the question.
I think, Darren, I had a question.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not supposed to be asking questions, apparently. I don't know, but I have a question. Like, because we always talk about creativity in response to like solving a problem or a gap or issue, but is creativity always in response to solving a problem or a gap? Does it have to do that? Is that the function of creativity?
Pretty much. And what is business? It's always about filling a void. That's why creativity in business is so intertwined. I mean, if you think about it, even I mean, what I do now as a creative director for the conglomerate of companies that I work with is to be the creative force. So every company, whether it's a medical industry or education, everyone needs a business card. Everyone needs a website. Everyone needs a logo. Everyone needs corporate identity. So no matter what, creativity is utilized in the business industry. So I think to be creative is very useful in any business, in any industry, particularly today.
So if I think about it in terms of creating nice things that you're not actually selling. So if we take it just from the perspective of it's not a business anymore, it's just creating art like pictures, paintings, and all that. Not the ones that you sell for money, but the ones that you just do for the sake of doing, and you really like the process of actually creating it yourself. Is it really solving a problem? I mean, probably not like a problem. Like you're not facing, I need to, hang something on my wall and therefore I want to paint this. So it's not that kind of problem, but perhaps it's just a form of expression or a way for you to sort of feel calm or communicate, express your feelings or whatever it is. So in that sense, it does go back to solving some kind of
Right.
a need, I suppose. So perhaps
Right.
not really a problem, but
Right.
maybe a need.
I was gonna say that as an artist, even if it's not a problem per se, it's like an internal challenge. So to me, I want to see if I can draw that. I want to see how this vision looks when it's sketched out.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael and Eva. Are there any other questions from the floor from any of the parents? If there isn't, I do have a question. I think it's this one to benefit all of the parents here as well, right? Now, as a parent, right, right now at this moment, right, what kind of environment, right, do you think that we can create in our homes, intentionally we can create in our homes to help cultivate the creativity in our kids or cultivate out of the box thinking in our kids?
All right. So, okay, let's see. So I'm not a creative person. I don't consider myself a creative person in the artistic sense of the word, I suppose. But creative has many forms, right? So it really depends. Do I encourage my children to, delve into things like music and arts? Obviously not like arts at this stage. Is for now it's just painting, coloring, and all that. But yes, definitely I do, because I do think that it serves some kind of purpose to just get them started on this journey of being a bit more creative, being more artistic, and all that. But I also need to understand that creativity is a lot broader in that sense. So when they're doing things like playing with their Lego bricks and trying to come up with like strange structures that don't make any sense to me, and they tell me, oh, it's a, I don't know, it's a police car or something, and it doesn't look like anything like a police car to me. I just have to go with it, and I have to encourage it. Or do I give them like different materials, different access to different books, or resources that they can find out about other things? Yes, I think we can do quite a bit actually. It really goes back to exposure. So just how we discussed yesterday on the curiosity side, just exposing them to a lot of different people, different resources, different ideas. I think it's pretty much the same here as well, actually. So really just giving access and letting them explore and see where it takes them, and see what different ideas, solutions, or ways of solving things they can come up with as well.
Yeah, I think no matter what medium, it's all interconnected and it's going to benefit you. I know that when I take a break and do websites, it makes me better as a designer. And then when I do, yeah, I mean, even Yoji Yamamoto was an architect before he became a fashion designer, and he created Y3 for Adidas, which is very successful. And those architectural lines were utilized in his clothing line aesthetic. And so everything benefits everything. So case in point, for much simpler analogies is Legos. I mean, something that's made to be fun teaches them how to build. So it's fun, and creativity and art is all interconnected with learning.
And fun fact, we even use Legos when we try to get adults to think a little bit more creative and do strategic planning and everything. So,
I
so
mean,
yes.
Legos is engineering at the end of the day. So
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael and Eva, for the wonderful answers, as well as providing a lot of deep insights to the parents as well. So that concludes the roundtable discussion for today. I will pass the floor over to Eva to sort of just give everyone a little bit of a recap and insights into not just today, but the whole 3-day event as a whole. Eva, over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Michael, again for joining and sharing a lot of ideas here. So over the 3 days, we try to take you through a journey. We've covered things like bonding, the importance of bonding between parents and their teenagers, their children. We talked about the importance of developing curiosity in our children, and today we covered a bit on creativity as well. So I think I mentioned briefly yesterday as well, not yesterday, on Monday as well, that we are looking at things like curiosity, things like creativity, just because these are the sort of skills that are needed in the future, and these are skills that sort of last the time. So the hard skills that people are looking for, back in the day, it used to be, you really need to learn computer science. These days is probably, I don't know, coding and programming and sometimes other hard skills that we are looking at. So those are different phases that we go through, but they keep changing over the years. It could be a decade, it could be a little bit longer, but they keep changing. But there are certain skills that sort of last the time, and we found that skills like curiosity, skills like creativity, being agile, being independent, different attitudes, different mindsets that we develop in our children from early on in life will really help them to learn whatever other skills that they would need to learn, the harder skills that they need to learn at whatever stage they need them. So if tomorrow my job is made redundant because a robot takes over, if I do have the agility, the flexibility, the curiosity, the creativity, I'll figure a way out of it, and I'll figure a way to move into something a little bit different. So with that, we really hope that we got you started thinking about how you engage with your child, how you use the bonding that you have with your child to actually get to know them a little bit more, and really understand where they are at in their journey, and what is it that they need help with, and how you can help them a little bit more along the way. And yes, the importance of all these different mindsets and attitudes and skills that will help them much later on in life as well, and how do we help them to develop them as much as possible from now, so that they keep working on it going forward. So with that, we are looking at this to be something that hopefully you can continue to do with your children. Hopefully you can continue to exchange some ideas in the WhatsApp group as well that we've created together, and yes, we'll send you some materials along the way as well, just to sort of facilitate your efforts in this respect. And Leaderonomics is always here, and we can always have a chat and see how we can actually help you along the way as well. So do reach out. With that, I'm just going to say thank you and pass the time back to Darren.
All right, thank you so much, Eva, for recapping this particular 3-day session. We also do have a colleague of ours, Nigesh, who don't. I would just implore parents to stay back for just a little bit more. Nigesh will be walking you guys through a little bit on what Y52 is. Nigesh, over to you.
Hi, everybody. So I guess I get to join on the final day, and so I'll talk to you guys about what this Y52 is all about. So from the beginning, you've been seeing this logo, and we've been talking about this. But this is, I think Eva did cover this a little bit, and the science behind it. This is our effort to sort of prepare youth and give youth a journey that they can learn throughout a year. And I think Eva did cover some bits of this yesterday, but if she did not. These are sort of the three incremental areas that we're looking at for youth development, right? Whether they are using whichever way they choose to learn. And then the first bit being forming yourself, discovering yourself, and applying yourself. And these are key things. And across the 3 days, they were also exploring those key themes, which actually went along this line as well, about forming yourself, discovering yourself, and then applying yourself as well. And when we say 52 weeks, we also mean 52 topics. So there are 52 different topics that are covered across these three incremental stages. And we safely feel that this does help them build a good foundation, especially before they move into different phases in their lives, whether it's teen moving into college or college moving into university. So this then preps them with good foundation, then helping them make good choices, and also good areas for them to further explore themselves into. And how are we delivering this? This is actually going to be delivered on an app of ours called Necole. So if you don't mind, I just want to share with you a video just to show you what that experience is like, because this is where even Michael is involved within this app as well. So if you look at this, don't mind the old man who's on the app there, because he's not a youth exactly. But well, the idea is from the app, um, there will be a group within this app, and this app is available to everybody, even parents or students as well. And within this group, we call this the Youth 52 group. And as you can see, Michael is there, and you can see that we have what we call pathways, Y52 pathways that are within there. And these are all small bite-sized content which take no more than a totality of 40 minutes in a week. But on top of that, what Michael is doing week to week is also trying to engage them with questions. What questions? Getting their thought processes flowing so that they can actually think about it and then have an interaction with Michael. And what we do on top of them learning is then if this starts becoming a hot topic, whether it is a question, whether it is a poll, whether it is a quiz, any sort of interactive content that we have in here, week by week we'll have this. And if this discussion starts becoming a hot topic by itself, then we'll take it out into a 20 minutes live session that we'll do on a monthly basis. And this is where we'll get Michael again to share his thoughts and his journey as how he shared about his Vegas story when he was 19 years old, which could relate to some of these things that are being talked about over here. So the core idea is within this app, within this ecosystem, within this group, this community that they have, these youths get to not only learn about Y52 or the 52 different topics that they possibly will go through, it's also for them to interact with someone or people who could give them additional context. So if let's say we're talking about curiosity or creativity like we spoke about today, they get to go through this process of also hearing from somebody. So they get this multi-world experience from not only just reading, not only just videos, not only interactive content, but also live content as well. All right. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of how it looks like. So the idea behind Necole itself is it's an app. It's usable whether in web, in mobile, or in tablet. It's a learning experience platform. And the reason we call it learning experience because I know cliche as it sounds, it's to create an experience out of learning rather than learning just being a structured thing in books or in lectures. Some credentials where we built this off a known platform. It's a Malaysian created product. It's using our knowledge from Leadernomics, our science of building leaders to actually help build a curriculum that is within the app. And the components of how it works on having guided learning within the app, having self-directed learning where they get to choose and create a habit out of learning, community-based learning, because as I think Darren did allude to with the whole Gen Z that we have right now, and also we're going into Gen Alpha as well, it's a lot about how they learn within the community and consciously spread that good knowledge and good growth within the community. And of course, we did mention about having experts within systems. So Michael is one of them. There are actually a lot more in there. And I also do want to share this. This is also available to adults. This was built primarily in adults in mind. And then we thought, look, youths can also benefit from this. So for the parents out there, there is a adult version of Y52, which we call L52, Leadership 52. We actually say that this is good for anybody who's crossed over from university in throughout their adult life. We have CEOs of companies who went through this and said that, look, this is a great way for me to reframe my mind and also talk to others about how they can grow themselves. So for us adults or within the room, there's something for us there as well. So that's a quick intro of what Y52 is all about and how we're delivering Y52 to you. So do check it out. The link is going to be Necole.app. But I think I'll pass it on to Darren, or am I passing it on to Andrea, who's going to have a little something special for you guys as well, because you joined us for the past 3 days.
And like all other events, we got to end it with a bang, okay? So we have a promotion code that is for all of you who have attended these 3 days events. And the first one is the 5% off of the subscription. Just to give you a bit of context how much it costs, it actually costs about RM300, that's Ringgit Malaysia 300 for a whole year. And if you're purchasing it for yourself, you definitely get a L52 immediately into your account, and you can do that for a whole year. Okay, so this is the first purchase. If you have more than one teen, that'll be great. You can purchase more. And if you want to buy for your kids and for yourself and your husband and whoever else, we actually have something that is really special. We've never given such a high percentage of discount, but because we felt that this is really important to drive forward youth leadership development, we like to offer a 40% off for subsequent subscriptions. All right, so don't worry about all these little tiny details here. I will share it again on the WhatsApp group and also over email in the next 2 days. But it's a first come, first serve. We only have 40 vouchers, which is 40% off for subsequent subscriptions. And it's, if you get it, you get it. You can pass it on to anybody else as well. Okay, and this will only last for 2 weeks. So the 5% off code, better write it down somewhere or just last in your head. It's youth5. We also want to thank M and everybody else who have joined us.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you so much, Nigesh, Eva, Michael, and all the amazing facilitators that were able to be here with us today for the rest of the past 3 days. And thank you so much to all the parents that were here for the past 3 days. We really hope that these 3 sessions have opened your mind, opened your heart, and also allowed you to see from different perspectives on how you can engage and nurture and bring up your kids. I wouldn't want to keep you for any more longer in this, but I just want to give a round of applause to all of you guys and really hope that you have a wonderful week ahead. There's holidays coming up. Do have a good rest, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone, and good night.